So what type of lead is the best lead to be working on in your business, okay? In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly the different kind of leads that you'll typically find out there when you're searching for them, and which ones have maybe the best costs, maybe which ones have the best volume available, and maybe which ones have the highest intent.
This video is sponsored by none other than Lead Heroes, you guys. Lead Heroes has got you covered when it comes to telemarketed leads and virtual staffing. On the lead side, whether it be Medicare supplement leads, final expense leads, turning 65 leads, they just got something for everybody. They can also actually have you plug in with one of their virtual staff members on the staffing side to where you can pay by the hour for one of their trained and very well vetted staff members to help you out in your business in a virtual assistant format. Just because you watch this video, they're going to give you 10% off any order you make on their website. Link to the site can be found down in the description, so go ahead and check them out.
What leads are best? It's what people ask all the time. It's the million-dollar question. Now, in this video, I'm not going to necessarily go over lead vendors or lead companies necessarily. We've done videos about that in the past. So if you wanted to see that video, I'm actually going to try to link it right here. And you can actually see which lead companies we recommend, which ones that are good out there, and just kind of know a little bit more about them. But I'm going to talk about more about different lead types in this video, okay? So we're going to talk about what kind of leads exist and kind of what you need to know about them. So first things first that we should probably discuss is the type of lead that is discussed the most throughout the insurance industry and has been for some time, for decades really, and that's the direct mail lead. So direct mail, essentially what direct mail is it's when you work with a marketing company, typically a mail house and a vendor, and they will drop a piece of mail, right? A marketing piece of mail. And maybe you're trying to get them to send postcards back in so you can call them. Maybe you're trying to get them to call you. Maybe you're trying to get people to attend an event or a seminar. There's a multitude of different purposes for direct mail marketing in the insurance business. Now, what they're typically going to do is going to send them out in bulk, usually minimum about 1,000 pieces. And some people send out thousands of pieces. You know, for this particular AEP, we sent out about 10,000 pieces for our mailer, which was less than what we have done in years past. We actually have taken our foot off the gas a little bit in terms of direct mail, and I'll tell you why. I still believe it has a place, but I'll tell you why we've taken the foot off the gas in a second here. But usually you're going to get a response rate, right? Especially if you are getting, let's say, the old traditional way of doing direct mail is you would get a certain percentage of people that got mailed the mailers in an area, right? You pick the zip code, the county, the demographic, the income, the age, everything like that. It's customized to what you want to work, right? Maybe you're trying to work low-income people so you can write D-SNPs. Maybe you're trying to work people turning 65. Maybe you're trying to work people that have Medicare supplements so you can rewrite their Medicare supplements. There's a lot of different types or purposes of direct mail. Maybe you're even trying to sell life insurance, final expense, mortgage protection, things like that, right? So what you're actually going to be looking at when it comes to direct mail is historically, you might have 1, 2, maybe if you're lucky, 3% of the people that are mailed send back in a reply card. Right? They filled out their information, they signed it, they signed up and agreed to be contacted by an agent. Okay, that's essentially what the postcard is. It gives you permission to contact. In the Medicare world, particularly, life insurance really doesn't have that as much, and so people always say 1%, 2%, 3%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you really actually crunch the numbers on it, right, it might cost you $500-$600 for 1,000 pieces of mail. Let's say you send out 1,000 pieces of mail and you spend $500 on that, right? So you spend $500. If you're selling Medicare and let's say you're not working with true-ups or anything like that, and you just really need to write as a street-level agent 2 apps and you're profitable. That's it, 2 apps on that particular drop. So let's say you get 1% response rate on that. 1% response rate on 1,000 pieces of mail would be 10 leads. So industry standard says average closing ratio on leads is usually going to be about 2 out of 10, 20%. So you sell 2 out of 10 and boom, you profitable. Because 2023 street level commissions for Medicare Advantage anyway is $301. So right there you're profitable. You're made $100 profit versus what you do. And then maybe you have a good batch and you're able to sell 3 out of 10. Boom, you're profitable. Now, the problem with direct mail is this. I'm going to talk about the good about direct mail and the bad about direct mail. The problem with direct mail is over the past year, maybe even year and a half, what we have seen is we've seen these response rates plummet. You know, there were some markets that you could get 1.5%, 2%, 3% response rates consistently on a mail drop. And in most markets with a really good vendor, you could probably at the very least get 1% almost anywhere, even in saturated areas, right? But nowadays, you're lucky to even get 1%. In so many areas in the country, right, with so many different mail pieces, you're typically not getting 1%. You might be getting 0.3%, 0.5%. And when you're getting such low volume in response rates, you calculate what you're actually spending per lead, and it's enormous. It might be $50, $60, $70, $80 potentially per lead is what you end up looking at. Now, does direct mail still work? I believe it can in certain very limited scenarios. I think it should be a very small piece of your marketing budget if you are interested in pursuing direct mail, but you have to be more creative than ever. Your piece has to be standing out more than ever. You have to, a lot of times, hit people with multiple mailings to make something really effective, like with a drip mailer. You just can't do things as generically and easily as you needed to. I think creativity is the only way to be successful doing direct mail. We still do a very small amount of it, but it's becoming less and less all the time. Now let's talk about the positive direct mail. If you can kind of crack a code there a little bit to where you're having a creative piece that is catching people's attention and you're getting decent response rates, there is no higher intent of a lead in existence than a direct mail lead. Now, why do I say that? What do I mean by intent? Intent is how long does the interest stay in the person. The definition of a lead to me is a person that has vague interest in your product or service, right? They're filling something out, whether it be an online form, a postcard, maybe they're agreeing over the phone to talk to somebody, but they have vague interest usually at best. That's what a lead is. It's not saying that they're a done deal or a layup or anything like that. It's that they have vague interest. And your job as a salesperson is to turn that vague interest into enough interest to become a client. Okay. Now, direct mail leads are going to be the highest intent because, let's just face it, we're dealing with seniors, right? And there's a lot of times in the senior population where sometimes they'll forget filling something out. Sometimes they just have a hard time remembering that they filled something out. Or maybe even if it's something that was very easy for them to do, right? It's very low-hanging fruit. It's easy for them to fill it out. They just stop caring about it because they didn't have as much effort for them to actually submit the request, right? An online form is a good example of this. Talk about that a little bit in a second here. But with direct mail, they actually have to take the time, find a pen, write out their information, right? Put it back in an envelope, lick the envelope, close the envelope, walk it out to the mail, drop it in the mail. It's something that's very difficult for them to forget that they did because it took a bit of action on their part to actually submit the request. So because of this, direct mail typically is looked at as having the longest shelf life as well. It's very common with leads that, with a lot of different lead types, that you have to be getting on it the second it comes in as fast as possible because the intent just goes down from there. Even within an hour or two, some leads, the intent is gone. 24 hours, 48 hours, the intent has dropped down significantly and the chance of you closing the lead has dropped down significantly. But with direct mail, you can call people 2 weeks later, a month later, and they still remember filling it out. If you're, trying to sell Medicare supplements or something that would be compliant with in terms of permission to contact rules in the Medicare space, or maybe final expense or something like that, they might even remember doing it 6 months ago. Maybe they filled out a card 2 or 3 weeks ago and they filled out your card 6 months ago. They don't know which card it is that you're talking about. And so you seem to do better with direct mail leads in terms of them remembering doing it more than any other type of lead, which obviously gives you the advantage when you're making the call and you're trying to have that conversation with the prospect, okay? So that's direct mail. That's one type of lead, and it's certainly the longest and most old school type of marketing that the insurance industry has ever known. It's probably been around for 100 years, right? And I'm not exaggerating. Direct mail is old school. It's also been known as tried and true, but it certainly doesn't have the impact that it used to have, but it can have impact if you do it correctly. Okay, so direct mail, number one. Number two would be Facebook ads and social media ads, right? So Facebook ads are typically very easy to run, and it's not hard to learn how to do them yourself. And it's not typically difficult for a vendor to run a Facebook ad where they're getting a lead for $3, $4, $5, $6 a lead, and then they turn around and sell it to you exclusively, right? $15 a lead, $18 a lead, $20 a lead, maybe even $25 a lead. So they're making a pretty good chunk of change there. Now, how are they getting the lead cost so low? Well, this isn't always the case, but typically it's very low intent marketing, right? They're marketing things like grocery cards, flex cards, huge dental vision hearing benefits, right? Very Joe Namath-ish advertising and things like that. A lot of times they're not necessarily CMS compliant in terms of the marketing, but they just use this very low-hanging fruit in terms of getting people to click and getting people to fill things out. A lot of times you'll see a lot of these vendors that get the lowest cost, they're marketing to low-income people for D-SNPs and things like that. Definitely not the most desirable client, and it takes them 2 seconds to do it. Oftentimes when they click on the form, Facebook automatically auto-populates their information in the landing page for them, and so the senior might not even remember doing it because it just was so easy, right? They just forget it like that. And so the intent is probably very low with a Facebook ad, but you can get them for cheap. For us, our goal when we're generating Facebook ads is we usually want to be spending about $10 to $15 a lead because the type of ad we're running is higher intent. I don't want to waste as much time talking to people that just filled something out for a grocery card that doesn't qualify for one, right? I want to have a higher intent ad. So I'd rather spend a little bit more per ad, per lead for me when I'm running my own ads than maybe spending less and having more leads available, but we're wasting our time talking to a bunch of people that will never buy from us anyway, right? They thought they were getting a free toaster or something like that, right? And so that's what you got to be careful about. This is my recommendation, in my opinion, when it comes to running Facebook ads. But if you're buying from a vendor, it can be good. You can get a lot of leads very quickly and in bulk. Typically, I think you shouldn't pay more than $20 a lead at the most. That's if they can get you a lot of leads very quickly and if you don't know how to run ads yourself, right? Or maybe you're running ads, but maybe you just need a little bit of extra volume, whatever the case might be, right? With Facebook ads, the good thing about them is you can get them fast, quick, cheap, right? They're probably one of the cheapest lead sources that you can actually buy on a per lead basis. However, that's probably one of the lower intent leads, right? If you don't call it the second it comes in, and you got to make sure that the vendor's getting it to you as fast as possible, and sometimes it's hard to know how long they're actually sitting on it before it comes to you. A lot of vendors say they're real time, but they're not always real time. But you want to call it as soon as possible, right? If you wait 24 hours on a Facebook lead, the intent is probably cut in half, right? Minimum. It might even be more than that. And so I'd say a very low intent lead because it's very easy for the person to do, and they just keep scrolling and then they don't think about it. A lot of people, that are seniors, we've gotten 4 or 5 different leads for the same person. And that tells me they're filling out everything they see. So they're probably getting 1 billion phone calls, right? So that would be your Facebook ads and kind of the pros and cons of that, in my opinion. Then you have internet leads, right? And that's essentially internet leads that are generated through maybe a website, through SEO. They're pushing traffic to it via SEO, maybe on Google or Bing or something like that. And they're getting people to fill out forms on a website. Internet leads I would put in the exact same category as Facebook leads. It's very easy to do, low intent, it's easy to forget. And a lot of times you just don't know the type of advertising that they're actually using. You don't know the type of terminology they're using in their ad copy or their advertising to get them to fill it out. There's a lead company that we worked with years ago, and I swear people thought that they were filling something out to win a free toaster, which is so bad and wrong and not compliant. I think the intent is very low, but you can get leads quick, and sometimes the volume is decent, but not all of them. Sometimes they're kind of expensive. I think internet leads, as they're called, data leads, are almost for the most part extinct and irrelevant in 2022, going into 2023. Then you have what's known as telemarketing leads, right? So what is a telemarketing lead? Telemarketing leads are kind of based on everything I've talked about. They've been around a little while, but they're certainly becoming more mainstream as time goes on, and it's something that we use a lot in our business with our partnership with Lead Heroes, as we talked about at the beginning of this video, and my friend Glenn Shelton and everybody over at Lead Heroes. But anyway, they're not the only source for telemarketing leads, but we're a big advocate of them, a big fan of them, of course. But what a telemarketing lead is there's a caller, right? Maybe they are in the States, but most commonly they are outside of the United States. Maybe they're in the Philippines and maybe some other country, and they employ a caller to spend all day making calls to a certain demographic, certain area, certain age group, whatever the case might be, customizable based on what the person wants. They're using a script, maybe a script of their own or maybe a script of yours that you created, and they are talking to people, looking for people that potentially might be able to be put in a better situation. Usually they'll be able to do this for Medicare supplements. It's incredibly hard to do this for Medicare Advantage because it violates a lot of permission to contact rules. But if you're trying to look for people that have Medicare supplements that can be rewritten and maybe have their premiums lowered, this is a great tool for something like that. Final expense, life insurance as well. Turning 65 people certainly. But you have a person that makes calls all day and they're looking for somebody that maybe has a window of opportunity to where they can have their plan improved. Number one. But number two, and most importantly, they are willing to talk to an agent in the area. So once they get the consent from the person on the phone recorded that they consent to talking to an agent, then the lead goes over to the agent and the agent calls them and follows up on the conversation they had with the caller, usually that day. Now, telemarketing leads are very easy to forget as well. I think the intent is better than internet leads, better than Facebook leads, not as good as direct mail leads, because a lot of times seniors that are on Medicare are getting phone calls all the time. So they just look at it as another call, right? They're not always necessarily remembering it top of mind. So it's one of those things where if someone gets a call in the morning and they gave consent in the morning, you'd want to call that day if possible and get back with them, right? When you're getting telemarketed leads. But that's how telemarketing leads are. I believe telemarketing leads are middle of the pack, right? I think if direct mail leads are here in terms of intent, telemarketing leads are here, Facebook and internet leads are going to be here in terms of the scale, right? The ladder. I think the positive thing about telemarketing leads is it's just a little bit something different. There's an actual human interaction when they actually gave consent. You have a recording that they actually want to talk to somebody that you're provided, which is nice. You don't know what they're thinking when they're filling out a Facebook ad or anything like that. Sometimes you just wonder if it's a joke or a family member did it for them. You just never really know going in. But you know a lot more when you have a telemarketing lead and you have that recording. You know what they talked about, and you know a little bit about their situation as well going in. And also I like that you can typically get them quick, fast, in a hurry if you're working with an organization that has a lot of bandwidth like a Lead Heroes, right? But that would be your telemarketing leads, guys. And to me, I think those are that kind of summarizes most of the different kind of lead types you're going to be able to buy from a vendor. There's a lot of different ways to market. There's a lot of different ways to generate your own leads. I'm a big advocate for generating your own leads, but I feel like sometimes when you're low on volume, it's not a bad idea to buy from a vendor. We certainly still buy from a couple select vendors here and there when we do need volume. Leads can be a great way to jumpstart your business. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you a really good idea of the different types of leads out there, the characteristics, how they're generated, the pros and cons, everything like that. And just remember, guys, a lead is a lead. And a lead is someone that expressed, like I mentioned earlier in the video, vague interest to talk to you. It's your ability as a salesperson that's going to convert that person from vague interest to client or customer. So it's never the leads. It's always the person working leads. Every single time. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor. Let me know about it by smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's the only way I know that you enjoy this type of content. Comment your thoughts down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do I miss any type of leads? I'd love to have a dialogue with you about it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so that way you're notified when we upload videos. We upload videos every single week on this channel, similar to this one. And we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Here's to your success and your abundance. Thanks, guys.